All right. Um, yeah, yesterday was good. I got out and I actually was here till 9:30 last night, absorbing
Wow.
some of the other material in life. And I didn't know where to look back, but then going back to all the training, the PDC, and it's just a lot of information overload. And now I know, like, okay, hey, I listened to that Barry Rutten last night and then doing the dime approach, which I was like, that's what I should have freaking did with Hawking. I'm kicking myself in the butt. So I texted him last night, said, call me. I know how we can figure out a game plan for you. So, and yeah, I
That's
just gotta,
Very Rent's really good on, so based on what you said, there's like several different areas of who to go to get, some language. That's very Rutten. Like his whole thing is changing the way you say things. And,
yes.
it's that's very involved. His program, he offers it for $6,000 a year, and it's every Tuesday from 10 to 11. And all you do is listen to him, and it's
Gotcha.
like repetitive over and over. But if you talk to Eric Jansen, he is a huge fan of Barry Rupp.
Okay.
Um, is him and all of his assistants involved in that program. But you'll also hear people, Jimmy, that aren't a fan.
Right.
Allison is not a fan. Like I guess it depends on your approach, what team you're working with. Like Allison's team is more like customer service oriented. They take care of the clients, they pride themselves on that. Whereas Eric's agency it's like sell, sell, sell. Like he's just way more aggressive.
Right.
So he loves Barry stuff because then they can integrate that language and you know, just start saying things differently. But
Yeah.
so here to talk to various people on our team that like him, that are like, and then some that are like,
Right.
you're gonna get no anything that is promoted. But I like the way he says auto protection plan. He talks about a home protection plan.
Yep.
He talks about protection plan, not policies, things like that. So
That's something that vibed with me a lot. And when I was listening to that 1 hour, my wife was like, when are you coming home? I was like, when I'm done working. I don't want to be distracted and retracted in here. And I have this and nobody's in here. But I like exactly, yeah, how are you protected? Let's make sure like the protection plans with the home to his auto, to his asset plans and all that. So it's just the same thing, but it's not leading in with life insurance. Like I was leading in how I was talking, because I think that's going to be an easier sell for me because of protection, self-defense protection. Like, oh yeah, hey, are you protected? Like everybody knows that I am in that. So I want to use my coaching experience and my life, other experience that, yeah, I've been protecting you physically, but now let's protect
yeah,
your essentials. And I think, like you said, make it simple. And I was trying to learn, I have to learn the IUL. I have to learn this, the whole like, no, I'm going to start with term because term is the simplest and it can convert later on to something else. But at least we get something covered sooner than later. And doing the Joe Noble, like
Joe
that,
Noble.
yeah, I have the form, the dime form, and I wrote it down on my phone. So when I'm out and about, I'm like, hey, if I'm talking to you, hey, you got 5 minutes, let's go through this, and then give me your license, and then I will input it in the system, and we'll go from there and get this started. So I think my biggest thing was just getting overwhelmed and so many parts to this business that this is why I wanted to know ahead of time with Country before, and Country wouldn't tell me diddly squat until you get on the inside, which I was like, my hands are cuffed in here. You know what I mean? Which, because if I would have known how much more this would have been, I would have probably just went and worked for an associate. You know what I mean? But just because there was all this unknown and the servicing and the how to and all that. But I'm here now, so now it's like, okay, I'm in and just got to move on forward now.
Yeah. There's something to be said, Jimmy, about just taking a leap and betting on yourself. You know, you don't, you're, so the statement you just made about, I might have, gone to be an association instead of me, and with everything that you know now. It's hard to know that because you have all this, you have all this information and experience of the past 3 months, right? To then make a statement like that, right? You're not
Right.
based on how stressful this has been and
Oh.
hard this has been for the past 3 months. But you don't know that. You don't know that if I had shared all this with you and told you, hey, you're going to have service work, we're going to have IT issues, we're going to have like all these things that you're going to experience. Knowing the type of person you are, I still think you would have said, bring it on.
Yeah.
Like, I can do this.
I think I was just getting beat up and I was down and I'm not a quitter, but it was just like these things with the servicing side. And like first I was taking the customer side a lot because I didn't, oh man, they were neglected. They haven't been around or whatever. Now I was like, oh man, I had to reevaluate me. And then when you hit the nail on the head with like Jimmy, we sent notices. And then this morning with this Sean Johnson or whatever, with this guy on here, and I was like, okay, called him, emailed him, said, hey, you gotta do this because he's reaching out to me. I'm no longer your agent, but here's the customer care billing specialist that needs to take care of this for you. And then he called me back and left a long voicemail, and I was like, okay. Well, I had Monica helping me with this farm last night, and then I was like, she listened to that. She's like, no, it's been lapsed for 2 months. There's multiple notices. He relocated, just the same stuff that you said. And I was like, okay, well, my district manager, other agents are saying the same thing. And yeah, we can reinstate it, but he's going to have to pay the lapse. And there is no, and I told him why, and I asked when I called underwriting, why should I or Austin or Country have an E&O claim when it was his negligence on his own lapse? I don't think that's, I don't mind helping out people, but when it was something that wasn't my, my fault, when
And
he
it
didn't
wouldn't
pay his,
one of those, right, Jimmy? Because you didn't make the mistake. So anytime that we access, funds to try and cover, even if it's $50, like it's still, there's a deductible, it still comes out of your pay, right? You're at
right,
on the 15th of the month, but they will never approve anything that you cannot prove you made a mistake. So you weren't even
gotcha.
involved in this at all. So there is no, and that's when the customer service person actually makes a statement and says, well, this could be an E&O situation. I'm like, you need to stop saying that. You don't know what you're talking about. All right.
Gotcha. Yep.
This guy, like that nobody made a mistake in this. All right. So stop saying that. You can't use E&O when nobody made a mistake.
All
It
right.
wasn't anyone's fault. It was not the client. Like, anyway, but
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. But that was, I mean, it felt
Those
good
things-
because,
those things though, from my standpoint, I don't want another hurdle standing in your way that you don't need at
yeah.
all.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've been beaten pretty good with the servicing side. And then I had a good talk with Austin yesterday, and he's like, yeah, no, and he's like, it's 10% servicing, 90% sales. And he's like, if you want to have a job, you got to do the sales. If you don't want to have a job, stay in the servicing side. And I was like, oh, and I was like, yep. So, oh,
They're off.
yeah,
Can you hear me?
yep, there you go. You froze up. Yep.
Okay. I know. So you'll see, Jimmy, that sometimes when you're, I don't know if you've experienced it on Teams, when you're hooked into the for internet, it happens to me all the time in the Bend office. My computer will freeze, and then 3 seconds, 5 seconds later, all of a sudden it catches up. Like, but the camera's kind of, I don't know. It's annoying. It's the internet.
Yeah.
Their internet.
It does it here too.
So-
I did it over there yesterday or Monday when we were on our Teams meeting. It was doing that. I was like, Jeremy said some good stuff. I was like, dude, can you re-say it again? Because that section in there was like probably the golden nuggets.
Oh, like it's catching up.
Yes.
No, I know it's just buffering.
But thank you for taking
So,
this extra time on your birthday. Because I know, I mean, I know in my heart of hearts I can help people, and that's the thing that I just want to feel like I know what I'm doing, but I'm learning as I'm going and I'm getting out of my own way now. And it's just, and like you said, I think those hurdles, if I would have stayed in there, but it was just, I just wanted to be prepared. You know what I mean? Like I would never put a person into a fight without training them. It was like, okay, here, go in there. And that's what I kind of like, there you go. Oh, now I'm going to train you since you got like, you stuck with it. But I'm like, you didn't have to go through all the beatings. But I think that's just one of my past experiences has just been School of Hard Knocks. And
yeah. Well, I think you knew enough, I wouldn't have made any other decision that I did. I mean, like, I think you knew enough to be able to, come in here, and I think a lot of it was the computer and IT issues too, that it didn't help, but that's why the conversation I had with you yesterday was about sense of urgency and,
right.
just trying to transition your managed time management into more like you should have some commitment per week on how many households you're going to quote, right? Or commercial opportunities that you're going to walk in and introduce yourself. I mean, things like that. Those are when you make comments.
Those were the golden nuggets, darn it, you froze up.
You just froze on me too.
Oh,
Those it's transitioning those, not saying, hey, my goal for the week is to quote 10 homes. It's my commitment for the week is I'm going to do this. And those commitments revolve around things that you have control over. All right. So I challenge you to make activity commitments. All right. Now I just mentioned quoting homes. That's not an activity commitment. That's a result of your activity.
gotcha.
Right? So, an activity commitment might be, I'm gonna call, my homes with a mortgage and no life insurance. I'm gonna call all of them this week in my book of business.
Okay. Like,
That's an activity commitment.
and that was something that
What are,
um, well, yesterday,
what,
like once you did that, it was like, I was pissed. Like it hurt, but it was a good
sure,
piss. Like it was nothing like, it was constructive and I needed to hear that. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like I'm spinning my wheels being in this freaking behind this desk.
that I knew I was hard on you. I was hard on you yesterday, right?
Yeah.
But it's because I know if if some things don't start falling in place, and I mean on the activity, like I know you know a lot of people, right? And you said that's what you told me. Hey, I got these, 4 that I'm working on the hot list right now, and I'm like, no, you need to have 10. Like, get back to work. Like, let's get those people that you'd walk in my office last 2 months and say, oh, wait a minute, you gotta, put some things in place, so then we need to go out and scoop those people up again, you know? And I was a little direct with you yesterday, Jimmy, because it was number one for your own good, so
Yeah.
I need you to know
No, I
that,
want you to be. I don't want you to.
right, it's pretty
Yeah.
clear.
And I wouldn't expect anything else, and I want that to be. And sometimes I need to hear that in a good way. And it was just like, yeah, I just need to get out of here and like go out and mingle and network and talk to people because that's my God-given talents that I think is, and I can, and I'm easy. Like when I went to go pay a bill, I was like, by the way, I was all, if you don't pay, I can only pay my bill if I allow me to quote your insurance. Here's my card. She looked at me like, what? And I was like, well, hey, unless you want to pay my bill. And she's like, oh no. And then she's like, well, how about this? If you quote my insurance, can you pay my bill? I was all, you can't use that against me. But it was a good receptionist that I had in there. But it was something, just the gift of gab coming from the inner city that like is something that I haven't capitalized on and I've been away. So like today, like in the afternoon, I'm getting out of the office. In the morning, I'm gonna go out, do this, and then I'll look at the servicing, email this Sean guy with exactly word for word what underwriting said, what you can reinstate your policy, but you have to pay the lapse. Here's the number to call, and that's it. That's all I can do. Yeah. And but yeah, no, and this is where it's like, yeah, when I'm out mingling, I feel like I'm alive. When I'm behind
Yeah,
this desk, I feel like I'm sinking, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
and it's, I telling my kids and all this, if it's up to me, it's I'm either gonna make it or I'm not gonna make it. I can't put the blame and shame on whatever was happened with others people, oh, you're doing it this way, this way. I just gotta blend it into my way now and just kind of go in with what I've done because I feel lack of confidence on knowing what to do because I'm so new and just trying to pick bits and pieces and incorporate it into a system that's going to work for me. But also, how am I going to retrain somebody else when I'm still learning at the same time? So it's so
yeah.
many other things that I'm looking ahead and it's like, okay, well, here's the life. This I'm going to use that paper sheet for the dime every time. Like I just haven't been resourceful with my resources.
Can I help take a little bit of pressure off you today? But I'm going to share, uh, that I just learned. And I was like, oh, I wish I would have known this before. So you know how you sign that agent agreement, Jimmy, that says you will hire somebody licensed within 6 months,
Yes.
right? And that's your agreement. And it says down at the bottom, hey, we'll start taking, you know, if you don't do this, then we're gonna start taking commission away from you, blah, blah, blah. All right. Uh, that the teeth in that is up to me.
Mm,
All right.
gotcha.
So it's up to me to act on that. They are not keeping tabs on, hey, did Jimmy hire somebody within 180 days? Really, that agent agreement is created for me to be able to get rid of somebody that I realized that we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Okay. But you have to hire somebody here.
Gotcha. Yeah. And that's my goal is just like, I mean, unfortunately, and I want to have like if Christine, I mean, if this is a good fit, I know I can scale so much easier than having, if she's in here and she's part-time and I'm like, okay, and it doesn't have to be a full-time employee, right? It just has to be a part-time.
It's stated in the agent agreement, a full-time licensed assistant.
Okay.
Now, there's no definition around full-time. Is,
Gotcha.
and so that's where they don't say, hey, you have to show us that you pay them for 40 hours a week and you pay them this rate, right? Whatever that may be. So there's a lot of wiggle room in between that,
Yeah.
which might be, well, I pay her more for less hours because she's worth it. She gets more work done, that type of thing. So there's all sorts of arguments that can take place, but I've never been privy to a situation where our agency, the reassignment flip area that creates that form, actually questioned anybody on, were they really full time? Were they not? Like that's not the point. The effort behind it is that you have somebody helping you.
Yeah.
The effort.
That's
All right.
And especially with like Christine, like having that experience, I mean, I mean, she knows how, and she's like, yeah, when I was in a couple of situations, a customer wanted me to mail something, and she's like, why would you mail this? And I was like, because that's what the customer wants. And she's like, I know we're in the 2000 centuries, we're not mailing anything. And I'm like, well, that's a lie, because here goes my office furniture. I'm mailing the check in.
Oh my God.
um for those chairs. But it was just like I don't know like what your thoughts on because I do if I have somebody that can know that and just shorten that, like, okay, what do you do on these three? Give me three bullet points, not a whole definition and all these other things that's on there. I just need it short, simple, that I can relate it, I can understand it, and I can go on and move on and go to the next stage on this as well. Um, I know we're supposed to be talking about life, but I think this is just as important, like for Chris in the situation with Christine, if she comes aboard, like somebody with that amount of experience that's already active on here. And I know you said there's good pros and cons to on everything. I guess the cons is basically, or the pros is I'm paying for speed and she already knows the system. And it doesn't seem like this book of business that I have is nearly as big as Lori's, but I would have her do a lot more other stuff, helping with other aspects of my business to get me appointments in offices to lead in with other avenues that I have this martial arts background that every person that I've talked to is all gun ho. It's just I have not pulled the trigger on reaching out to them and setting up a date to going in there because I've been too busy behind trying to service it, which I'm only going to limit myself to like 2 days of servicing. And I mean, some or whatever it may be, like hearing it from other agents, like Chris does it 2 days, but he has a whole team, but then Nick does it every day, but he also knows what he's doing, all that stuff. Until I start knowing it more, then I can kind of plug in. And I just don't want to, because I mean, the hours are not short amount of hours, the time that I'm putting into this, because I'm committed, but I'm also like, there's that learning stage that I have.
Advice. Um, I know she approached you yesterday, and I think right now, both of them are just reeling still from the news from Lori,
Right.
still processing it, and of course they're like, reaching out for, life preserver, right? If I can say that in a word picture. Because they both are like, wait a minute, this is not like, what am I gonna do now? Right? So you can imagine, Jimmy, that kind of the obstacle that they both have of working with one agent. I know for sure for Cheryl for over 20 years
Right.
with Lori. And but she is on the older side in age.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a detriment to her. I was asked yesterday from one of my leaders, hey, what do you think as far as the positive, like, do you think it's a positive thing, the assistance that Lori had, if we're to bring it to new, hire two people for her book of business, do you think they might pick them up as assistants? And I'm like, sure, I don't know. Yes, there's a ton of knowledge, and there's a ton of just, I guess it all depends. This is why I say this. It all depends on how you want to use them. And there might be some pushback, right? So what if you approach Christine and say, hey, I'd really like you to call this list for me and set appointments for life appointments for me. What if she's like, well, I don't do that for Lori. I don't want to do that. I'm just
Right.
making it up.
Right.
Making it up. I don't know what she does. But you might come across a situation like that where you would ask her to do something that she's like, well, I want to do what Lori had me do, which I'm comfortable with, and I don't want to go outside my box. I like doing these things.
Yeah.
And so I say all of that to say it's in order to make a decision on whether it would be beneficial to you or not, you have to communicate with her, right? So
Have to what with her?
communicate.
Okay.
You have to communicate with her and just be very open. Like I would sit down with her and I would say, all right, describe to me on every that you do for Lori right now.
He froze up. Why is it on like
I
the
said-
golden nuggets? Like you're speaking
No,
it.
all I said was I would sit down with her and have her tell you everything that she does for Lori.
Okay.
Like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis of everything she can think of that she does for her.
Gotcha.
And then you analyze that and say, okay, what if you're hearing, maybe it's, hey, I want her to do that. That would be great if she did all of that for me.
Right.
Maybe it's going to be a perfect fit, but also continuing that open line of communication where you say, hey, there might be some times where I'm going to be out, I'm going to be knocking on doors and all that. And my calendar isn't full next week of appointments and I need that to be done, but I don't have time to call them, so I might ask you to call them. And maybe that's what she does for Lori, I don't know.
Right.
But
Just, I need to know,
there
yeah.
there might be some things that you ask her to do that in her current job she doesn't do.
Okay.
It might make her uncomfortable. But you need to know that you can count on her to do those things, should that be the case.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's part of the whole team. I mean, if I'm gonna step up and put somebody on payroll and legitimate, no more 1099 days, gosh darn it. But like I mean, and this is a new challenge for me and looking at other things like now I've got my LLC set up and all that. Now I'm going through and Gusto, like an easy online where it's they take it out, all the taxes. That way I'm separating all my businesses. And so going into the personal one, it was like, no, 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 no. But there's, yeah, it's just a learning, another learning curve for me. But making sure that it's going to be legit and having that time. And I'm like, well, she's like, well, she doesn't want to work more than the hours that she's here from 10:30 to 3:30, Monday through Thursday. I'm like, well, I will little bit what happens on a Friday. I mean, I can work with that. And I was like, but I mean,
10:30 to 3:30, Monday through Thursday. I think, I mean, just hearing that, I think that there would be harm in that.
Right.
I think Friday's more of a, you can make Friday a day that,
I'm
you
not
know,
in the
maybe you
field.
do. Yeah, I mean, whatever, but I think starting out that might be good. And
Because
those are the things where you need to know that she's to be flexible,
right,
because if she comes to work for you, you're definitely open to her um knowledge. You're open to her the fact that she's been with Lori for so long. And you definitely are like you're willing to hear, you're willing for ideas, for her to share ideas with you on how you could, we could have a system for this, and you're willing to hear that. You also need on the back end for her to be open to doing things differently, because she's not working for Lori anymore, she's working for you.
right, right. And that was where it was something that came up like, oh, well, Allison reached out to her too. And I was like, oh, well, hey, cool. And I was told her straight up, whatever's best for you is what I want's best for you. Like I want somebody that wants to be here, not the other way around, not like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go over here. But because I know I'm a diamond in the rough. As soon as I get the right team, Eric and Andy better watch out, like in a good way. So I'm shooting for the stars
Yeah.
and all that. I mean, because the way that they have everything dialed in, but they have a team that's going in, and my goal is to build this, scale this, not just have with one, to put this into another person and to go in here. And I'm thinking long term how exactly how I built my gym is I'm just doing it in an insurance ordeal, which is serve the people first and foremost. And I can talk. I have a skill set. I have skills that I haven't even touched. I've been like that. I haven't just been in my shell, but just getting information overwhelmed. That I want somebody that's on here, that's yeah, but doing things a new way and adding new skills and new growth and being the most appreciative boss that anybody's had because that's just who I am. It's not like everything when talk to Monica, hey, thank you so much for holding my hand through the farm policies. And if I ever have any farm policies, I want you to write it. And then this is it. Would you be willing to do that? And she was like, yep. So like you go in there and she's like, well, I would do it on Chris. I was like, no, but if I'm going to pay you, I'd rather you write it under my business. You can log into this. And that's where I was like, okay, well, I'll call IT and figure out like how she can do that during her off time. And then I trust her and like known her, and I was like, and I'll just pay you under the table because that will eventually get the commissions. Finding out that this guy has, man, a boatload of toys and gizmos. And I was like, oh my gosh, like he has 5 boats, a houseboat, 2 lake properties, no, 6 cars, a dump trailer, farm equipment. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay. So, and he's getting ready to build an 8,400 square foot shop. And like, it was all these questions that I'm like, oh yeah, this was over my head. And that's where I was like, and what you said, like, I don't want to waste my time trying to learn that. Um, And I mean, there was so much as Monica was going through, oh, I gotta do this and this one, but she knows those codes back like the back of her hand.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do it yourself, you know. So she was doing it off your number.
Yeah, she was doing it on my computer, like, cause on here, and it was like, oh, and then she got her new computer, but she's like, all these buttons are new, and I was like, welcome to my world, girl. Yep, that was all. But yeah,
Want to talk live?
yes, I do.
Okay. Right. Talked about approach, right? And then, right.
He froze up again. Gosh darn it.
Can you hear me?
I
Can you
can.
hear me? Okay. Oh my gosh, that's bad today.
It's,
What's happened?
you know what? It's because there's no smoke in the air. It's cleared up. No, it's fine.
What's interesting is when I freeze up, you're not frozen on my end at all.
Really?
So,
Oh, yeah, when
yeah.
you freeze up, it's just,
So it's your internet. It's in the office. And just like I said, it doesn't really happen when I'm at home.
huh,
Interesting. Yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay. So what is the one thing that, so now you've listened to Joe Newell, you've got your life insurance number, right?
Yes,
So you can use that. That's an easy kind of form to fill out, helps so the clients see it, they can do all that. Here's what I want to make sure you know is if you get to a point, maybe where you're like, I don't need that form, I already know what the questions are, you know,
right.
that type of thing. Just kind of know your client, you can use the form or you don't have to, you
Gotcha.
know? And then I would continually say, here's where I would add some language in this as far as, here's some ways that my clients choose to use life insurance.
Here's the ways. Okay.
Here's various ways that some of my clients choose to use life insurance. And what I really mean by that is ways to know that if they weren't here anymore, this is the way that their family members would spend money. You know, it's kind of that. So that's just how I say it.
Okay.
And then I say, so I'm going to introduce some different areas that we're going to talk about, and tell me, are these important to you to make sure you use life insurance to cover these needs? Right.
That's where you are going to your auto, your home. You would start smaller instead of going for the big kill, like, oh, mortgage protection.
Well, so when I say that, that's when I would go right into your life insurance number. I'd go introducing right into, so when we talk about the first need, that most of my clients say, yes, this is a need I have, and that's income replacement. So it's,
Gotcha.
and I don't know on your life, I never, your life insurance number, because it didn't exist when I was.
Right. I got it right here.
So,
I don't
yeah.
know. I got it. Yeah, so it's the debt, income, oops. And then I don't know, you can see it, but I have that, and I like to have what Barry, the other person said too, is like the loan. He's like, I like to, the life number is the loan, the gosh, what did I, and income, and then funeral, and then education. And so it was like he put life and replaced it with the dime, but it was the same meaning, but as opposed to debt, income, and mortgage and education. So I was like, okay, so it's just like those two variations that connected with me, but I can use those in the same. So how much do you have a loan on your house for as opposed to debt?
That you would not want to, and this is where it is, it's just an additional point to it, right? So on loans, think of any loan that you have, like credit card, car, home, like if you added all those up, what would that number be? And would you want to make sure on the day you die, all of those were wiped out and your family wouldn't have to worry about that anymore?
Right. Yeah.
Or however,
Yeah, and I think that's just it was just a little bit easier positive approach than the debt. It was like, oh man, because I look at loan and I was like, oh yeah, well loan you're choosing, debt you're not choosing, but you are.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? But to me, I was like, yeah, the loan that vibe with me. So I replaced the debt with, hey, how much of a loan do you have on your home, on your cars, on your credit cards? Because you're loaning that
Yeah.
money. So
Things like that. Income, that was the one area that you can flex a little bit. So if somebody says, well, I make $100,000 a year and my kids are 5, so I want to make sure they get to age 21. All right, so then you kind of do the math on that, and
15 or
like, wow,
20 years. Yeah.
yeah, $2 million plus.
How did you come
Uh,
up with that? $2 million. Because you, oh, $100,000 goes for the extended.
so if it was, so if you did $100,000 a year and they wanted to cover it for 20 years, $2 million.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so that's where they're like, ooh, $2 million. That seems like a lot, because it does, when you lump sum it. But then you kind of explain, well, yeah, like you're going to, if that's, this is income replacement. So if you literally walk out the door today, tonight, get hit by a bus, right?
All right.
Your family would need, you just told me, your family needs for the next 20 years. They need $100,000 a year. So it was that you were still here working and providing for them.
Yeah.
But you can flex on that. You can say, if that sounds like a lot to you, let's be a little bit flexible. Do you want to cover, maybe you don't cover the full 100, maybe you cover 50,
Right. So then that's just that
right? So
conversation with them.
yeah, or you can keep the 100 and cut it down per year, like get them to age 16, get them to 18.
Gotcha.
Because I was kind of, it's usually clients want to take care of the kids as far as getting them to a certain age where then they can provide for themselves if they
Right.
have children, right? If it's just husband and wife, it might be, I want to get my wife to retirement age. And maybe she doesn't, then social security kicks in, or, whatever else that would be. So those are just some, those different conversations that you kind of expand on with your client.
Okay.
And, yeah, working through that, your life insurance owner.
Yeah. I think that was, yeah, just this little thing. And so when you're out in a casual settings, like, oh, and that's where using Barry's approach as a protection as opposed to life insurance, because nobody wants to talk about life insurance because he said it last night, like, yo, when I was listening to that video, it was like, yeah, life insurance, oh, I'm gonna be busy. I got my schedule coming up, I gotta go out the door, but hey, are you protected? Like, and I think that is my God. I mean, that is what people know what I've been here. How's your protection with other things besides your physical harm? Like, this is what I'm doing. And so there was a family that I'm going to reach back out today. She's going out of the country, which she saved a lot of money. And I was like, okay. And he's a lender. And I was like, man, why didn't I think about? I told him I'm doing insurance, but I didn't. I got to tell him, hey, I'm just your daughter. I gave her a quick little lesson, and your wife came over, and just want to make sure that she's protected and you guys are protected all the way here. When can I sit down and just kind of go over a protection plan? And that's what I think I'm just going to say a protection plan. And he's like, what do you mean? Well, like protection for, I guess, how do I get out of that limp? What does he mean by a protection plan? And that's when I go in for your loans, your income retirement for her, like when you're gone, are they
Well,
fully protected?
let's kind of back up to when you say protection plan, my mind might go to, what is he talking about? And so just what you said, right? So then I want you to be specific about what type of protection plan you're talking about, because because Barry Rett talks about an auto protection plan, a home protection plan. He talks about a life protection plan. Like there's different definitions of what a protection plan is, but I want you to be more specific so people know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. So a life protection plan. So just,
So you can say with your, you know, that example that you speak. You can say, okay, so here we're planning on how to help your daughter protect herself, right? Physical protection. So I'm good at that. I'm also good at helping my clients on my day job, getting to just kind of, however you would say that.
exactly.
Really work on, I help them set up additional protection plans. And that consists of home protection, auto protection, life protection. And I walk all my clients through, you know, specific procedures and processes to make sure that they're also taking care of those areas.
Gotcha.
And then if he says, Jimmy, well, what is a life protection plan? What does that consist of?
Well, it's just based on if you were to, God forbid, something was to happen, how much do you owe on your home to pay that off, to leave something behind for the living? It's a gift for the living. That's what Carrie said. That really stuck with me the very first day, like the cradle to the grave, like what countries got that. And they pay on their claims. And I guess this is the number one thing that I want to make sure is that it's a gift for the living when you pass away.
So it's a life protection plan where, so you can definitely describe kind of what it is. And then I would want you to go into specifically what the client would experience in putting one of those together. Right? So you could say, hey, it's cradle to the grave. We help you develop a plan of protection with life insurance. And here's, you know, so one of the things I do for all my clients is we deep dive into how much you need, right? It's not just an ambiguous number. We get really specific. And then we go through the process of qualification, and then we get some insurance placed on you. So your family's taken care of. Should you know, something unfortunate like Charlie Kirk yesterday.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Man, yeah, I could not. And it's just amazing, like how much, I mean, another friend of mine got shot and is in the hospital, and it was like, oh my gosh. And oh, it was amazing. But this is a kid from I'm gonna call him back after our things from the Navy SEAL. So now I'm gonna have my sheet, which is awesome. Because I'm like, you know what? But it was like how much things are taken for granted and how much we don't know when our time's up. I don't know how much stuff I have here or any of this. Like,
It depends on, you know, it depends on people's views, but in my opinion, it is my husband's job. This is what God calls him to do, is to take care of me, right? To take care of me and my family.
right.
So if he's not here anymore to do so, then I'm financially set up to where I wouldn't be put in a position of having to sell the house and, you know, have to go get a job and I've never had one before. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that is the responsibility. So anyway, it's just my
Yeah.
my
Well,
2 cents, Jimmy.
no, and this is where when I lead into the cradle to the grave, okay, well now let's get into the specifics. Let's go through this approach on this cheat sheet with that. And I mean, this is so much easier now. It's only four things I got to remember: debt, income, mortgage, and then education. And the same thing, loan, what is loan, income, funeral, and education. So,
One other area that I would add in, not to confuse you, right? But it's not on the dime sheet. But it is important to some people. It's leaving a legacy with using life insurance to leave money to your children
I guess.
or grandchildren or a charity or a philanthropic effort that you are passionate about?
Business, other church, etc. Okay. Yeah, leaving a legacy.
Yeah, and how I would introduce that, Jim, is I would ask my clients, all right, so we've taken care of like the day-to-day stuff, right? How your family would choose to use the money that you're gonna have a life insurance policy. You said you want them to replace your income, you want them to pay off their loans, you want them to have money for my funeral expense. You also want them to pay for college education for the children. So they're gonna kind of earmark all of that through. And then I would introduce that last piece. And I would say for some of my clients, I'm gonna introduce one other way that some of my clients choose to use life insurance. And that is that it's important to them to leave a legacy, a monetary legacy to their children, their charity, their church. You know, they want to use life insurance to do that. But not everyone chooses to do that. So is that important to you?
Right.
And some people may say, well, tell me more. Some people may say, no, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Perfect. And some people may say, yeah, that's really important to me. And then I would say, well, here's what that looks like, just so you know, as we go through this protection plan and plan out, you know, what are some temporary needs and what are some more permanent needs. Right now, if we go through the LIFE acronym, funeral expense is the only permanent need, right? That you got to have that on the day you die.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's what that will cover. The rest of them are temporary. They run out. The income replacement will run out at some point upon our calculation. The college education, your children outgrow that.
Right.
They don't need it. The loans, you pay them off. You don't need those anymore. Right? So those are all, hey, there's a temporary need for insurance while I still have loans, while I still have kids that could be in college, while I still am making income, I'm providing income for my family. But funeral expense, you need it on the day you die. And so a legacy, passing money on, you need on the day you die. So we're talking a permanent type of insurance on those and a temporary type of insurance on the others.
Yeah, you know what? On the dime approach, it is all somewhat temporary on that. But the one you just said on the life approach, that funeral, I never thought that is the only expense that is set in stone.
So it sets you up for when you present quote options. It sets you up for why are you telling me about permanent insurance that costs more than term?
Because we want to make sure that you are fully covered and that you can use this in ways to benefit your family. You can purchase some of that back, you can use that as, no, that's the part that I do.
I'm just gonna go right back to is that because you did the LIFE acronym, and then you talked about legacy, and then you expanded upon that and explained, here's where we're the permanent needs, the funeral expense and the legacy, permanent need, everything else temporary need.
Okay.
So then when I sit down and I go through and I present to them, hey, here's my recommendation on types of policies you need. Let's say we went through all the underwriting, they got underwritten, you've been approved for $2 million, right? Now we're going to sit down, we're going to figure out, all right, let's put the perfect plan together for you, which includes the policies that fit into the way you want to use life insurance. That makes sense, Jay?
Yeah, that makes really sense. Really sense. Makes a lot of sense.
So So then at that point, I would say, all right, so based on your temporary need, which we figured that out, right? You have let's just say you have $50,000 in, well, including the home. Let's say you have $500,000 in debt. All right, so in loans. So we have, this is how I would explain it. If I had 2 million and we'd already figured it out, so I'm just rehashing where we came up with the numbers, right? So I'm going through and I'm saying, okay, you had 500,000 in loans because of your home, right? That was a big purchase. So you have that. You wanted to, you know, as I went through, like I would talk about the education. You wanted to cover college education, so here's how much we earmarked for that. You wanted to replace income at this amount for this many years. So here's how much that of the 2 million would go for that. And then we have, let's just say 25,000 for payroll expense. All right, so we have 25 on that. And then you wanted to set aside $50,000 for each one of your children. All right, there's two, so we have 100,000 for that. So based on my math, and I would show them my numbers, I would say we have a temporary need of 1,900,000 in temporary need and 100,000 in permanent. It's really 125, but I'm just rounding up the numbers. So here's the quotes that I put together. Here's 1.9 million in a 20-year term. This would take care of all those temporary needs, right? And then I have 125 in a permanent nature. And I like, you know, then there's different types. There's a 10 pay, there's 20 pay, there's a pay till you're 65, there's pay the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Take the full life. But that's how nobody ever feels like you're trying to sell them a policy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, so if we're just talking straight needs-based selling, you're going to get real specific on the need and the dollar amount and all of that. You're going to apply for that specific amount because that's what they need.
Right.
And then when you go to, they get approved, they get all that. And then you're going to sit back down with them and say, all right, let's put the perfect policies in place based on what we talked about previously.
Gotcha. Based off of all this information that we gathered. Got it. Okay.
Your term recommendation based on the temporary nature of how they wanted to use the life. And then you propose the permanent whole life policy based on how you want to cover those permanent needs.
Said term recommendations based on
the temporary. Yeah, those temporary things we were talking about.
Right. The loans, the school, autos.
You just bring it back to that because a client will understand then why you're recommending what you're recommending.
Right. Yeah. I think well, I'm starting to see sparkles of lights going off, like in a good way, like, okay, this is how I'm going to bring in this approach and then bring this based on exactly everything. But I'm just reinstating exactly what you just said, the car, the school, those loans, all of that.
And it's really, it's in an effort to, okay, it's been a while since we met, right? It's been a month. We went through underwriting, got all that done. We finally got you back in the office. So let's revisit how we came up with this number. All right, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. And that's where I revisit, hey, here were some of your temporary needs, right? So you said you want to replace this much income, you wanted to pay for the kids' college, and you wanted to cover the loans that you have. So this is, this portion of what we applied for was this. And then you also said you wanted some funeral expense, 25,000 a year, and then you want to give 50,000 to each one of your children. So those are both like more permanent in nature, right? Those that can't run out. You can't have term insurance that has a date of ending on it.
Right.
You want to leave $1,000 to your kid. What if you outlive the term, which we hope you do?
Right. Well,
It's not gonna work, right, based on what your plan was. So here's my recommendation. All right, here's some quotes that I put together, and here's my recommendation.
okay.
And then I would present those quotes to them. I'd have a whole life for 125,000, and I'd have the rest in term.
Okay.
And I would say, if you wanted to secure life insurance exactly the way that you wanted to, that we uncovered your need, this will do that.
And and to do the whole life it's just changing it from term to whole life. Same question,
Right,
same.
so- No,
Gotcha.
underwriting doesn't care, like you're a client, they don't care what the type of policy it is, they care about the amount that they're gonna be on the hook for, right?
Gotcha.
So,
So always,
that's where at that point, you know, you can change, you just apply for a term and then you can change it into,
gotcha.
you know, the whole life and a split, whatever that looks like, so. You do separate for whole life policy, you do separate term. But, yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I think I needed like this little things and I needed to just go into the systems and knowing where to look at and SharePoint. Now I have all the videos that I know where they're and can play those in my mind during that to educate myself and to go out and just hear it. And
you have all of the PDC, you have the training on how to present a life insurance, like you have all about the whole life. What's the difference in an L 65, a 20 pay, a 10 pay? Like, and if you have the opportunity to go into a conversation with somebody to present quotes, let's role play before that. Or if I can join you, I would love to join you on that too. But I cannot emphasize the need to be very specific with your clients when you're presenting and revisiting why you're presenting what you're presenting. Right? And it has to tie back to the conversation you had on the need. You can always tie that back. There's no ambiguity at all. Now they may look at it when you present the quotes and say, I can't afford that. All right, so this was throwing everything in the kitchen sink. This was perfect scenario, right? So where do you want to give a little bit? And they might say, well, can we just put everything on a term policy?
gotcha.
Well, you sure can. You sure can, you know? And as we move through the years, here's my commitment to you is that I'm going to meet with you every year and we're going to revisit. Hey, because every term policy that we have has conversion privileges. So you can convert a portion of that term. Let's say you get a raise at work. All right. And you're like, hey, I got a $10,000 raise. I got promoted. I want to take some of that. I just don't want to spend it. I want to actually apply it to something that I couldn't afford for.
Right.
And that's when you'd call me and we would look at, all right, how much can you afford to convert to start earmarking some of that life insurance into those permanent needs, the funeral expense, the kids' legacy.
Gotcha.
So we can put everything in term right now. And then every year we'll see, hey, do you want to convert any of this? Now, just so you know, that conversion is at its need age. So if you don't do it for another 5 years, that whole life quote will be based on you being 5 years old.
Okay.
So it will be more expensive than it is today
Gotcha.
because you're older. You're
Right.
closer to when country's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to have to pay out this money.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you.
All right, well, I'll let you get back and
Yep.
call your cross.
Yeah, he texted me too. I was like, oh man, let's see. And that was good because I was like, hey, I saw your missed call. Text you, no worries. I'll call you when I'm done with work today. Okay, well, he's working, but I will give him back. And that's how, I don't know if you can see my emojis is always with fist bumps
Yeah.
and prayer hands. So it's, yeah, but thank you for you, Christine, and have a happiest birthday ever.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, tell Jim to give you the birthday. Well, to tell Jim to call me. I'll explain the birthday beat down. You say, so you're gonna go in there like that. So, but yeah, so yeah, I appreciate you and I appreciate the extra time because this is stuff that I've yeah, I'm getting through it and that's it. I'm just like what is it, Les Brown? He's like, once you're going through shit, just keep going through it. Don't stop
Yeah.
and on there. So
Stop.
yes, that is so true, man. Well, thank you, and hopefully you're taking a